Hey everybody, Robert from Black Belt Gaming. I hope you're doing well. I'm about to continue my playthrough. I am very appreciative of all the comments that have been coming up on the past videos that I've made during this playthrough. I started doing playthroughs many years ago in order to learn how to play the game better and share what I was learning with other people who may have similar questions. So as I'm going to the last couple of videos, I think I've learned some things from your comments. Learning a little bit more about movement, and yet another board game channel made a good comment. It talks about making an evade check against the cultist when I was using a spell, and the spell wasn't an attack, it was a flesh ward spell. And I believe that was correct. I probably should have made an evade check, and I didn't really see anybody else mention that, but I think I do remember reading in the rules that if you take an action while somebody's right in your face that's not an attack action, you need to make an evade check. So I will double check that again, but I think that's correct. Got some good advice about the Elder Ward sign and how that could be used in the combat, but not for horror checks and things like that. And then about being able to use successes that you roll when you're suffering different kinds of damage, physical damage or horror. If you roll any successes that negate points of damage or horror, you can choose which one you want to eliminate. So that's pretty good. That was very helpful. As I went to the second video that I also filmed in that same day, this comes to actually the heart of why I make videos like this. There is debate on whether that witch should move 2 or 4 spaces. Maybe some other monsters have come up with the same situation. We had some good discussion, and I want to be careful anytime I'm presenting something just as fact, when it may be just my interpretation. And once again, that's why I make these videos and I say, let me know what you think, because it leads to some good discussion. Many people believe that the witch should move 2 spaces, and then if she doesn't attack, move another 2. I actually tend to agree with another interpretation, which actually, looking at it, has more thumbs up, which is that she had a condition. She was going to move 2 spaces and then make an attack if she was in range, but she didn't meet that condition. So therefore, I don't believe that the movement would occur. So therefore, since that condition couldn't be met, then she moves just 2 spaces. I agree with that one a little more. So I think we did it the right way. I think she only moved 2 spaces, period. So then if she activates again, she's going to move 2 and try to be within range to attack. You know what I'm saying. So I think we did that right. So I think my hesitation was valid there in order to try to reason through that situation. But it's just a board game, and do it the way that is the most fun for you, I guess. That comes from my old days of maybe playing Dungeons and Dragons when all the rules weren't clear, and if you didn't know exactly what to do, you had to move on with the game and do what you think is right. So for those that are really sticklers to the rules and you want to get it exactly right, I think there is some debate. Maybe there'll be a FAQ or something in the future, an FAQ to really make that clear to us. So I will keep it as it is. So I really appreciate all the discussion. I don't want to discourage anyone from making comments like that and bringing out their opinions on how something should have occurred. I find them all helpful, and I agree with most of them, and sometimes I may disagree, and others may as well, but that's part of the learning process. So Appreciate you staying tuned. Let's continue where we picked up, or let's continue where we left off. Here we go. All right, everybody, we're heading back to the application now. We've started it up, picking up where we left off. Let's begin the scenario. We have Eugene here in the entrance hall, trying to run away from the witch, which is right at the door where we started. But Jenny and Harvey are up in this direction here. Jenny still being right here at the doorway, and Harvey just entered near this search token. So let's go back to the board and decide if we want to check some things out here, or if we need to go and take care of the witch problem. Hopefully she won't kill Eugene, but let's go to the board and decide. All right, everybody, so here's our view of the board. Jenny's here, and maybe I'll start with Jenny. I kind of want to keep moving towards our objective, which is, I think, eventually to find this yard area or something where this ritual took place. The interrupts I've had to my playthrough, although it's given some time for some great comments and allowed me to learn the game better, it does interfere with exactly what was going on and what I was doing. So let me start by moving Jenny one space in here with Harvey. And then I think I'll let Jenny do the search action to explore what papers are there on the table. So let's go back to the app for that. All right, so Jenny has moved one space. I have to remember she still can move another. But she's there, and she's going to explore this token. All right, just did a quick check to make sure everything was working as it should. So I think our microphones are all set. I've tried to turn up the gain a little bit on the microphone for the app, so hopefully it's not overpowering. But let's let Jenny check this out. A stack of papers has been strewn about the floor. Jenny's going to take her search action. Amidst the mundane paperwork, you find a weathered page covered in strange script. Someone has scrawled a note across in English across the top of the page. Speak these words for great power. Oh boy. Yeah, I think Jenny's gonna go ahead and recite the script. This may be a mistake. Okay, I clicked on that, but I have no idea if anything occurred. Have we just encountered an error here? We recited the words, but I have no indication that anything took place. So, big question mark. It looks like the search token is removed, so we'll remove that from the board. And I guess Jenny still has her last point of movement available. So, let's see. Just, I don't think this is too bad for me to take a look at and count here. If the witch moves, she's definitely going to be in range of both of them. Why don't we have Jenny maybe suddenly hear Eugene's cry and have Jenny take a step over this way, kind of finishing up her move for the turn. So Jenny is going to move right here, I think. So she was there. She's going to take her final point of movement right here, and that will end her turn. So Harvey's still standing there. So why don't we have him read some more from that journal or diary which he had before. This is Harvey now. Let's let him read and spend an action doing that. You flip forward several months through the entries. The writing gets increasingly frantic and haphazard. A photograph falls from between the pages, and the photo shows several men in fancy suits and reads, Vanderbilt Astronomy Association. There are also some strange markings on the photo that might help your investigation. I found William's books occult garbage. William's friends threatened me again. I fear not for myself, but for us all. I don't even know how to pronounce that stuff. Suffer one horror and gain the photographic evidence unique item. So we suffer one horror. It does not say face down, so I think we need to turn it face up. So let's do that for Harvey. All right, everybody. So Jenny moved there. Harvey, while she was checking out the papers, Harvey was digging into that journal again. Found some photographic evidence, which we'll put into his inventory. And then he suffers one horror. So let me draw that. I still haven't really shuffled this yet, so let's just draw it from a little towards the front. And I think this should be face up, so let's see what it says. Paranoia. Every noise makes you startle and jump. Even your companions unnerve you. Keep this face up. Whenever you end your turn within range of another investigator, flip one horror face up. I have... Actually, I'm pretty good. Harvey, at the current moment, doesn't have any other horror, so this is his only card. So he's going to kind of keep it together. But I guess this note and the photo and all of that are freaking him out a little bit. So I'll put that horror up in his damage section. And remember that Harvey is still dazed. So let's see, we have another action for Harvey. Let me think about what we want to do. So old Harvey here is getting a little paranoid. Not too bad at the moment. Let's see. Fear not for myself. All right, we'll continue. The madness continues for several pages, but right at the end of a single entry, stands out, written in steady hand, "It will not be long now. When I pass, I want my ashes spread along the coast. I have always loved the sea." And we get to gain one clue. So we'll give Harvey a clue now. Well, Harvey here is loaded with clues. I don't know how many that gives him now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But he's always dazed, so I can't do much with those. Anyway, let's head back to the app and see what happens next. All right, so we've given Harvey his clue token. And we have another action available for him. Let's see what he wants to do. He suffered 3 damage. And I don't know. I don't know if he wants to read more in this journal. I wonder if that's an option. Oh, interesting. You find nothing more of interest in the journal's pages. So we don't have to waste an action there. I want to kind of look at the trade action. Doesn't Jenny have a book that could be useful for healing wounds? Let me check that out. Alright, I'm going to try to keep moving on and trying to get to, the goal. So Harvey is standing right here by these papers. Let's go ahead and have him take an explore action. He spent one searching the journal. His second action will be to explore in this direction. So I'm going to click on it. A weathered door stands at the end of the hall. You hear bizarre noises on the other side. When you try the handle, you find the door is locked. A keyhole sits beneath the brass door handle. A keyhole. Let me click on that again. Alright, it stands at the end of the hall. You hear noises. So maybe there's some sort of key we need to go through there. Okay. Alright, so I don't know if that counted as an action. Evidently clicking on this doesn't do anything. So I don't think that that counted as his full action. I think he just looked at it and that was it. Would you agree with that? I think so, because I was given a good pointer before that clicking on those different tokens and such can remind me of what they are, but it should tell me if it's going to take an action or not. So not much I can do with that door at the moment. So Harvey's going to have to move somewhere. Maybe we're hearing Eugene scream, and I wonder if I want to have Harvey move down at the end of the hall. I know that's going to put him within attack range of the witch. That's unfortunate, but let's move Harvey 1, 2. Why don't we move Harvey right there? This may be a crazy thing to do, but let's go back to the board and move Harvey there. Alright, so this may be an unwise decision, but Harvey checks out this door. It is locked. Not much he can do about that. So he hears Eugene scream for help, and as Jenny is dropping those papers, Harvey comes around the corner, sees Eugene, and comes face to face with the witch, who's down at the end of the hall right there. So that's going to finish the actions for the investigators, I believe. Let's see what happens in the Mythos phase. Alright, we're heading back. Harvey's right here now. Let's end it for the investigators. And we'll move on and see what happens in the Mythos phase. When the scream begins, you believe it to be a human being crying out in fear. By the time the last echoes die, you can only conclude that it is some sort of wild beast, far closer than you would like. Each investigator suffers one face-down horror. Alright, let me do that. Okay, the horror cards have been passed out, one for each investigator. The witch moves up to 2 spaces to be within range of as many investigators as possible. Then it attacks the investigator within range who has suffered the most horror. That's going to be Harvey. So she's definitely going to attack here. She moves up to 2 spaces to be within range. She's actually within range from where she is. So let me think about that. Would she move even closer? Or would she stay where she was, since she is already within range, and make an attack? Since it's clearly to move to be within range of as many investigators as possible, I'm gonna say she moves forward maybe a space and gets maybe even right in Harvey's grill. So let's let her advance there. So let me know what you think about the witch's movement here, but I'll say that she's going to get as close as she can. So she's going to come face to face with Harvey, and that puts her as close as possible to the investigators. And then she's going to make her attack. So she is right there in the same space as Harvey and right next to Jenny. Harvey has the most horror with 2 cards, so she's going to attack him. Alright, she's done it. The monster attacks. The witch smiles, and in that smile you see a tempting promise. Make, is that a willpower check? Make a willpower check. If you pass, you remain strong and resist the temptation. If you fail, you give into a fantasy that swiftly becomes a nightmare. Flip 3 horror face up and become stunned. Alright, so let's attempt this roll. Okay, Harvey Walters has a will in the lower right hand corner there. You can see that it's 4. He's no longer dazed, and he still has his lucky cigarette case. So let's give a roll here for Harvey. 4 dice. Needs 2 successes, and he's got 3. So he passes the test. He remains strong and resists the temptation of power. So let's go back to the app and we'll continue. So it looks like Harvey has remained strong and resisted the temptation of power. Each investigator must resolve a horror check against the monster within range with the highest horror rating. So I did learn something else in my previous videos, that I believe when they are on the same space or dealing with the same creature, they both resolve the same horror check. So I don't think they have to make separate horror checks. I think they both are affected by the same thing. That's what I was understanding. So let's resolve this horror check, both of them against the witch. Alright, so just double checked. They're going to resolve the same horror check. So let's go with Harvey first. But both of them are going to have to do this. With a voice like hissing sand, the witch describes the infinite decay of the world. And you need to make a lore check. Get 2 successes. If you pass, you see through the witch's lies. If you fail, you stagger under the weight of the revelation. Suffer 2 face-down horror. Alright, so both of the investigators need to resist this description of the infinite decay of the world. So a lore check for both of them. Alright, so a real life horror check for me. My boy just came home with his buddy, so you might hear them in the background. I've asked them to keep it down so I can finish this round, but we need to make horror checks for our investigators. Harvey Walters has a lore of 4, so he's going to have a pretty good chance. Let's, yes, he's got 2 successes. He passes. He sees through the lies. But what about Jenny? Jenny's lore is 3. So she does have the Elder Ward, but this is not combat, I don't think. Or is it? No, this is a horror check, right? Horror check, yeah. So here we go. Oh, 2 successes for her as well. So standing strong, both of them pass. They see through the witch's lies, and they don't suffer any horror from the witch's nasty words. Okay, so we got lucky there. Both the investigators passed that horror check. And I believe that's going to end it there. Let's press on in the Mythos phase. And we're back to the investigators. Alright, well I think that's going to wrap up this turn. Just a quick check up this way. Harvey has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Still 8 clue tokens. He's no longer dazed. He's got the paranoia card face up and 1 face down horror. So I need to remember next round that that face down horror is going to flip face up at the end of his turn. Unless he can get rid of it somehow. And Jenny Barnes, no physical damage at this point, just the 1 face down horror card. They're both very close to the witch, and the butler is still there in the entrance hall, or the exit hall. What is that called? Entry hall. So that's where we'll leave it off. Appreciate all the comments again, as I've been learning and doing my first playthrough of this game. So we'll get to the next round as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you later.